Hello, I thought this week I would talk to you about my inspiration. I've been given a bursary to make larger work from the West of England Visual Arts Alliance. And they've given me money for materials to make really large pieces. So I've been ordering wooden boards, metre by a metre by a metre and a half, so really quite large. And that's the largest I've ever worked before. So I am kind of trying to prepare and surround myself with things that inspire me, artists that inspire me, objects that inspire me, and also previous work that I've done that has an element of what I'd like to make with this work. So I'm kind of gathering all these things together, allowing them to kind of percolate in my mind so that I can kind of get that feeling that I want in the pieces. And I'm going to surround myself with all of these things as I work. And obviously I will be making videos as I go along. So fret not, I'm not going to stop printmaking. In fact, I'm going to be making really large gestural monoprints ready to collage onto the boards, along with painting onto them as well. So I'll be making videos about that too. So I just thought I'd show you what I'm going to gather around me to inspire me before I make the work. So here I've got pieces on board that are actually smaller, but actually very much in the vein of what I'd like to start to achieve with the larger pieces. So these ones, they still need a bit of finishing off actually, but these were from Aldeburgh, my Aldeburgh residency when I went there. Lots of collage. This is monoprint collage, and so is this, and painting underneath it, creating like a real depth and layering up. And then I have a larger piece here, a seascape. Now I have been working on these over the last couple of years, this type of thing. So this is actually a print on Japanese paper underneath all this, mounted onto board. And then I've collaged in monoprint, I've drawn over it, I've painted over it. So this is the kind of way that I would like to start working. But I probably want to go a bit simpler and a bit more abstract with the larger pieces. So I'm not completely new to this way of working, and I really realized that when I started looking around the studio that actually I have been doing this type of thing for a little while. And then I also found these pieces. This is actually quite an old piece that I've worked on recently, and I just love all this really soft texture. And again, this is monoprinted collaged onto paper this time with dry point over the top. Yeah, just really soft texture, these kind of marks here, and that's the kind of feeling I'd like to achieve with the boards. I've also been looking at some of the pieces I make usually for demonstrations actually and workshops. That goes that way. And what I often end up with are some quite interesting, what I call play pieces. And you get these lovely textures and lines here. I mean, something like, if I just place this on there and hold it up to the camera. I mean, this kind of edge here is just gorgeous. And if I was to crop that down, that would be a beautiful abstract piece in itself. So I'm trying to, what I'll be doing with these, what I call play pieces, is using crop marks and kind of having a look at what I really like about them and what could serve me when I'm going a little bit larger. And then in addition to that, I revisited my collages that I did. I did the 100-day project this year, and I did monoprint collages, and actually these have really inspired me. I kind of had to go abstract because I was doing them relatively quickly, one after the other. I only had 10-15 minutes a day or so to kind of really look at what I had, using the monoprint that I had in the studio. And I really enjoyed making them, and I really loved them. And some of them, not all of them, these are the ones my favourite, have kind of got that feel that I want to achieve with the larger pieces. So this kind of texture here, mixed with the bold colour and line as well. I have a love of ceramics actually as well. And these two little pieces that I normally just have them on the mantelpiece. And this one holds feathers. In actual fact, the patterns on the feathers are also really beautiful and inspiring. But I love these ceramics. I love that kind of the scratchiness, the texture of them, everything about them really. And it's this kind of feel that I would also like to get with my pieces. And I strive to get them with the monoprints I make as well. Those really subtle glazes are the kind of thing I would like to try and make with monoprint and paint. So it's not just other artists and it's not just other pieces of art, it's also objects. And then, of course, I'm lucky enough to have a really nice library of books and catalogues of other artists. Barbara Ray is one of my favourites. She's a painter as well as a printmaker, but she makes absolutely stunning and often really quite simple landscapes. They're not abstract, but they can be simple and beautiful at the same time. These are her Arctic paintings, and they're absolutely stunning. And I would love to get a little bit of her colour and texture into my work. Norman Ackroyd has always been a favourite, and I love the way he gets light into his work. So even the impression, even if it's not a figurative piece, just being able to get that feeling of light and dark into the work. I mean, this one here is just stunning, isn't it? So he works mainly in monochrome etchings, but I've always loved his work and he's always been a kind of inspiration to me. Some more Barbara Ray here. I mean, her colours are stunning and probably a bit brighter than I initially want to go. Howard Hodgkin is one of my favourites, and this book is actually all of his prints. These are actually often etchings or lithographs, but they look like monoprints often. And I love his boldness, I love his colour and his spontaneity. And some of these are actually really enormous. It was only when I went to see an exhibition of a lot of these a year or so ago that I realised that some of these are absolutely enormous. But the layering up of the colours is something I'd like to bring into my work too. And then a fairly new discovery for me, Frank Bowling. There was an amazing exhibition of his at the Arnold Feeney in Bristol last year, which I went to. Now, this book doesn't really convey how amazing and enormous these pieces are. They're completely immersive, sort of fields of colour, and they totally inspired me. So these are canvases, and actually they're sort of collaged onto board. Actually, it's canvas collaged onto board. So that also inspired me, the fact that you could do that and you could do it in such a large way. So he is a new discovery and he's inspiring me all the time. So I've also been looking at artists that are not so well known, but that are inspiring and working in the way I would like to work. So I've actually created a Pinterest board called Exploring Abstraction. And it really inspires me. So these people are not necessarily household names. We've got Draga Orel, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Love his abstract pieces. And I'm a really big fan of a woman called Laura Harris, who I think she's Canadian. She makes really beautiful abstract pieces. Richard Wadcock. Now, all of these people are fairly well renowned in their locality. They're making really beautiful work, and I often find them just as inspiring as those well-known household names as well. So these I've been collecting over the last couple of years, and the idea is I don't want to copy them, obviously, but I do want to, it's just inspiring to see what other people have achieved and what you can do. So I kind of just want to hold those in my head, I suppose, as I'm working. So I hope you've enjoyed this little insight into my inspiration and the way I'm working.